Hello to our dearest listeners. This is Diana DelPilar,
And Daniel DeLeon.
and welcome to Emergency 101 Now.
Heroes, as we say, are the ones who fight in the middle of a disaster. So for today's podcast, we are going to talk about how a first responder or medical professional respond to emergency or disaster situations.
Alam naman natin how crucial the roles are, especially during the unwanted events. So now I am actually quite excited to hear the personal experience of our guest for today. So let us introduce to you Mr. Ivan Carlo from the King's College Hospital. Hello, Sir Ivan. How are you po?
Hi, hello. I'm okay.
We only have a few questions for you to answer. For the first question po, can you share to us or describe rather your experience in managing an emergency situation? When and where did it happen, if you can recall, and how did you manage it?
So I remember it was in 2009. It's a Typhoon Ondoy. It's like one of the strongest typhoon in history. So I just literally graduated from nursing school, and then I was involved in a medical mission in Manila through Philippine Medical Association, and we work with doctors. So going back to your question, as health professionals in managing emergency situation, number one should always be ready, skills wise and resources wise. So we had proper training and from our education, and then we utilized our limited resources very well, and then we had orientation before the actual activity. But I guess if you're in the actual event, of course you have to make sure that you and the patient are in a safe place to reduce damage and avoid, including the healthcare workers, the casualty. So I think that's my answer for that question.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer, sir. It is such an inspiration for us to hear that, since you said a while ago na you were a fresh graduate. So again, another question is, can you describe a situation where a patient was not responding to standard treatment? What actions did you take?
Well, to be honest, that didn't happen to me in an emergency situation. But in any scenario in nursing, if I'm not mistaken, if the treatment is not responding to the patient, you just have to escalate it to your in charge and to your doctor. And after another intervention has been implemented, just assess, monitor, and reevaluate the patient. So I think those are the basic things that you have to do.
Okay, so it's just sticking to the standard treatment in nursing po, right? And for the third question, is there a chance that you made a mistake when responding to an emergency situation? If yes, can you tell us about that mistake you made when dealing with the crisis, and how did you overcome it?
This is a very tricky question, actually. But first of all, in nursing, I'd like you to know that, of course, we're avoiding to make mistakes to the best of our abilities, but we know that it still can possibly happen.
Yes po.
So there are loads of mistakes that can happen, especially in emergency situation, but about by a multitude of events or causes. So it could be not following an emergency algorithm or just simply giving the wrong drug. But the most common mistake that I can think about in this kind of situation is having no communication with your teammates. So at least like one of you should step up to delegate, coordinate who will do this, who will do that. So not all of you will be all over the place, and sort of like organizing the team in order to have a smooth sailing process. So I think that's the best thing to do.
Yes, and I would agree, because since if you're in a panic mode, parang everything is in a rumble mode na rin. Parang hindi na nagkakasundo.
Yes, thank you so much for that. From that, we can say that from that experience, we can say that communication is truly the key. Another question is, how did you manage patient triage in the emergency department po?
I think it's basically rapidly. When you say rapidly, it's like not more than 30 seconds. Rapidly identify the most injured. And then what they say when I had my disaster training before is just pick the survivable or salvable one. Yeah. And then, of course, after that, communicate it to the right member of the team.
Okay, then for the last question po. So do you have any advice to all the future healthcare professionals in stepping to their next journey, like us, future nurses?
Is it in general or just for emergency disaster nursing?
For in general na po.
Well, I can talk to you about nursing all day since I really love this field. What I can say is we have a very good nursing curriculum in the Philippines. It's based in, I think it's patterned with America, where it's general nursing, you got bits of everything. So from there, you can actually explore through your rotation, hourly, or clinical duties. And then, you can identify, know all of the sides of nursing. You can actually choose what you really want to do. Do you want to be a psych nurse, OB nurse? And then at some point, once you've chosen your field, you can be like, is this something I can do even without salary? Well, it's just hypothetically. But yeah, you just have to, another thing is you just have to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, because the process is the outcome. That's from one of my professors actually said. So another thing is the most important ingredient for success is definitely not intelligence. You should have, I don't know if you know the word grit, which is passion and perseverance at the same time. And then probably to end this, I have a saying from state of Kansas in the USA. It's Ad Astra per Asper. I don't know if you've heard about that. It's through hardships to the stars. So you just have to dream the impossible and reach the unattainable. But of course, baby steps. I think that's it.
Yes, all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ivan Caro. And that seems to cover everything we have to know with regards to responding to emergency cases. And of course, some of the advices to us nursing students.
We appreciate you, Mr. Caro, for sharing your experience to us about how important being prepared, being brave, and having good communication is. Grabe, big salute to you, sir.
Yeah, right. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your knowledge, not only to us, but also to our listeners. And you have given us a clear overview of how a nurse responds to lalo sa emergency and disaster situations.
We enjoyed learning from your experiences. So let us end this podcast with a quote from Chuck Stepanek, which is, "Save one life and you're a hero. Save 100 lives and you are a nurse." Thank you so much once
Thank
again,
you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Once again, this is Diana DelPilar.
And Daniel DeLeon.
And thank you for listening to Emergency 101 Now. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.